Hi, and thank you for coming to my page at Christian Radio Blog. My name is Jennifer, and I'm going to talk about a very important topic on the cycle of narcissism. And we're going to read from 2 Timothy 3, and it's going to apply to several topics, including a vocabulary that is used commonly describing the narcissist to spiritual components to the topic as well. Let's start with 2 Timothy 3. But know this, in the last days perilous times will come, for men will be lovers of themselves, lovers of money, boasters, proud, blasphemers, disobedient to parents, unthankful, unholy, unloving, unforgiving, slanderers, without self-control, brutal, despisers of good, traitors, headstrong, haughty, lovers of pleasures rather than lovers of God, having a form of godliness but denying its power. And from such people turn away, for of this sort are those who creep into households, make captives of gullible women, loaded down with sins, led away by various lusts, a way of learning and never able to come to the knowledge of the truth. I'm going to end it there. The cycle of narcissism is important to understand, so I'm going to use the vocabulary and I will put it all together for you. First of all, when you're first dealing with a narcissist, it has to be diagnosed by a doctor or a psychiatrist for this to really apply to this. Now, you might suspect somebody has the narcissistic traits, so that's relevant. Does matter, though, to have it diagnosed. It is treatable. It's not something that goes away, though. Let me get back to the cycle of narcissism. What you're going to find out about the narcissist is that there's a grooming phase. They condition you to accept them. You might be a friend, coworker. You might have gone through this in junior high. You might have gone through it in high school, or you might have gone through it at work or at home. I don't know where it starts or ends, but the grooming phase is the beginning of where the narcissist conditions you to accept them as who they are. And remember, this is going to be important because I'm going to cover what the narc supply means later in this discussion. So the grooming phase is to help get acquainted. And let's just use the example of a friendship. You're getting to know this person as a friend or neighbor, and you're obviously maybe even attracted to that person. So let's just say that they start doing nice things for you, and this is where you come into the love bombing phase of the cycle of the narcissist. Love bombing is sending flowers, doing nice things, etc. This sounds like a perfect situation. Every person that's probably been through this phase knows exactly what I'm talking about. This is the vocabulary that we are using: grooming, love bombing, and then once the love bombing ends, the insults begin. The insults are: you're not attractive, or you're fat, or maybe even something worse, but it's devaluing. This phase lasts before the discard, meaning at that point, you're going to be discarded. Before the discard, you have to be devalued. And then, of course, however you're discarded, whether you're ghosted or they just up and leave you, basically ghosted, that's where the cycle is. And this grooming phase is all important because they do come back from the way it has been explained to me. Now, you're wondering, why is this important? Well, this applies to 2 Timothy 2:3. And this is what they are: unforgiving, slanderous, brutal, without self-control, headstrong, haughty, lovers of pleasure, having a form of godliness. They are the type of person that want to be a god, almost a guru. It's very relevant. I got to get into more of the discussion to explain why. All right, more of the vocabulary. Gaslighting, making you seem like you're crazy, like you're seeing things. Now, another term is called flying monkeys. Now, these are people that help facilitate what is called gaslighting, making you seem like you're the crazy person, and it further isolates the victim. And let's go on to the very important part of this, where you fit in to the new part of the narc supply. These are additional men and women that have been used for need and affection and attention, meaning they always go back to their narc supply. That means a group of people that have been used and abused by the narcissist. And the only way really to survive this is getting out and getting away from this person, and using no contact is the only way to survive narc abuse and getting therapy and help. Now, I have more to share on the spiritual component, because that is the nature of this discussion. Because the nature of this discussion is going to get into the manifestation of the demonic influences. And what I wanted to share is the vocabulary is important, because you got to know the context of the discussion. And you need to know why it is important that we cover 2 Timothy 2:3, and the manifestations. Now, in this case, I'm going to use an example of a broken cell phone story. The manifestation came without really expecting it. Of course, that's the point of the manifestation. And then finding stuff on the internet and the cell phone that led to the dark web. That manifestation was found by a friend of mine who found stuff that was led to the dark web. And when you find information of porn and things like this has all been done by the narcissist. And we got to get into the spirit of Jezebel and the spirit of Python, because there was a very dark experience that I went through personally with the spirit of Jezebel and the spirit of Python. I was on my knees, to say the least. I'm going to give you a few examples of what it was like to find stuff that was buried, stuff that I was not aware of, but I found it on social media. And it was an adult site that was used to engage in porn and to be a victim of rape and sodomy. Now, this is how serious it is to deal with a narcissist. Narcissistic abuse is very similar to domestic violence. And I wanted to add to the vocabulary about the trauma bond. The trauma bond is what keeps the victim going back. You often wonder, why does the victim go back? Well, here's the definition of trauma bond: a cycle that keeps the victim coming back. And I wanted to state this because naturally, that has been a question a lot of people ask about domestic violence victims. Well, it's very true of being victimized by a narcissist. That happens, it's very common, but it does have relevance. When you are victimized, the whole point of the whole cycle that I just went over earlier, from the grooming to the love bombing, to the devaluing, to the discard, to the ghosting, is all to traumatize you, the victim, that is, into being connected to that person. It is a trauma bond. That is the way it works with a narcissist. Now, is there help for a narcissist? Yes, there is help. I've met over the internet, not personally, but I just seen this man who works in therapy for 15 years. He's a known narcissist, and he's getting recovery, and he's a very helpful source of information. And he says the same thing, and if I can get that link, I'll put it below, about how to deal with narcissism. And he said, in his own words, to please just go into no contact with the narcissist. A lot of times what I always connect suicide attempts with young children is that they may be dealing with a narcissist. Because I often wonder how many people really deal with narcissism at a young age. There are adults that are going untreated with narcissism, and their kids that are deeply affected, that I see the suicide rate is so high that oftentimes I wonder how many people are dealing with narcissists. So hopefully this audio video is going to give light to this information to the right person. Again, I can't emphasize how important this is. When I went through this whole vocabulary, I want to go over it real quickly right before the tape runs out. When I say gaslighting, it is important to know that the rumor mill and all the stuff that goes on, the gaslighting, the flying monkeys go hand in hand. You have to have the flying monkeys to start the rumor mill and the smear campaign to help gaslight the situation, to get the victim to isolate. You know, that it kind of works that way. To isolate the victim, to get the victim to be traumatized. I mean, that's kind of the way it really works. And when I was telling you about the grooming and the love bombing and the devaluing and the discard, this is language that you are going to have to get acquainted with. It may seem like a lot right now, but once you get acquainted with it, it'll make more sense over time. But it is the cycle and how things go. When you go into no contact with this narcissist, as we end this audio, what you do is you're beginning the phase of healing and survival. I can't express how important it is to heal and survive through prayer and meditation and reading the scriptures such as what I read earlier. It is without a doubt imperative that you survive. My doctor thought I was going to die. That's why I'm sharing my story, and I'm saying it like it is, because it is important that every person, whoever deals with a narcissist, especially depending on how bad they are, because I'm pretty sure if you're dealing with one that has a lot more problems than just your average Joe, you could see why your doctors are concerned for your safety. My doctor thought, as I said earlier, that I was in peril. I can't emphasize how important it is to stay in no contact and stay away from that person with narcissism. Well, I've come to the end of this radio blog, and I hope I've shared enough information that can help you. I will provide a link or links if needed so that you can get more information about this topic.